this attack we're talking about in Manchester. Now the elevation of their terrorist system, their alert system, has reached its peak. They feel an attack is imminent. Robert Caltabiano is a counter-terrorism analyst. He's 28 years of multidisciplinary experience in global security, and he's on the line right now. One thing, Robert, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Good morning.
One thing that we see is these events, it's just human nature for us to say, oh, my God, that could happen here. And it has, and this is the new life we live in right now, right?
Well, it's an unacceptable life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
That we can do something about. It's just a matter of whether we have the will to do it.
So, do we, when you say that, does that mean giving up certain privacy, certain rights? I mean, are we at that point where that's what we're going to have to do, and that's the only way we'll combat this?
No, I think what we need to do is become more aware and actually take our own security a little bit more serious and into our own hands. And what I mean by that is no one can help ourselves except ourselves, number one.
Yeah.
The police and our first responders, they come in a response mode after the fact. And so there's a lot that we can do here in the States. There's a lot that Europe should be doing.
Right. One of the things, Robert, that I worry about is, especially when we're in places that are, we do a great job of trying to prevent people from getting into stadiums. Well, look at what happened here. This was the exit of the stadium. They find vulnerabilities. No matter how hard we try, they find vulnerabilities. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And to walk into a New York City, and you hear Times Square. Look what happened there the other day. For a suicide bomber, I don't know how society can prevent that from happening.
Well, look, we faced this back in World War II with the kamikaze pilots. There's no rules in war.
Right.
And we see it again here. This is just a modern-day kamikaze. These people do not care about their lives, obviously, and others. But one thing I found, two things significant. Number one, this was a coordinated plan, just the way that, the bomb was put together, though it was, kind of simple in terms of using shrapnel.
Yeah.
But there had to be a plan to this. Number two is that on the stadium, and this is very important, he didn't get inside.
Right.
It was on the outside. So part security did work to keep them from going on the inside. So that one good thing came out of it, that they are secured, per se, on the inside. Unfortunately, the damage was done on the outside.
Right.
Robert, I want to kind of expand on that point. Everybody keeps saying that this was a soft target, that this was an easy attack. Why is that?
Sure. Well, these arenas are so big that to really lock it down, they would be out of business. But what I look at soft targets is look what happened in Florida with the airports on the outside. You got to remember, security's on the inside, so there's that gap in between where, let's say, you would put up a wall, put up a security perimeter, and that's where the softness is. That's where this guy attacked. They knew that. I'm going to look at that there was probably security on the inside, and so you have that what we used to call a buffer zone, and there's no such thing anymore because that's what they're targeting.
Right. This happens, and it's just society. It's sociology. It's the psychology of all of this. And that is, right now in Manchester, they're willing to give up their rights. They're willing to, whatever it takes to keep them safe. Very similar to how we felt after 9/11. However, as time goes on, all of a sudden, and it happened here in the United States, all of a sudden, wait a minute, you're eavesdropping on us? That's a violation of my rights. What do we have to do as a society? That's part number one. And then part two, when you say as long as that we can protect ourselves, we can do more, I'd like to know what that means. So starting with us giving up certain rights and privacy rights.
I don't think that we need to give up certain rights.
Okay.
At all. I think that we need to work with what we have, but I think we need to expect more out of our politicians as to what they're doing right now. Stop playing politics with our lives,
right,
with the security of this country. Number two is that you really do have to look at open borders. Now, if you go back and look at this person's family, they were Libyan refugees, although he was born in the UK.
Yep.
But what happens is you do not see the assimilation. Europe is not very well assimilated. So they continue to live, as though they were from their birthright country.
Right.
So that's a problem. And then you see the self-radicalization.
He had just come back from Libya. And was on their watch list, by the way.
And so we have to be more aware of this in the United States as to if you wanted to come here, we love to have you, but you got to come legally.
Right.
Because it's not a right. It is a privilege. And everybody needs to understand that it's not a right to come here. And number two is, are you going to look at the values that what we as Americans want to live by? And those are things that we should be asking of our neighbors, and our neighbors should be asking of us. And, what does it mean to be an American again? And we've seemed to lose this. And borders do matter.
Yeah.
I know it's a political thing, but they do matter. And we should have a right to be able to vet people coming to this country.
Well, the politics of all of this, I know you're running out of time, and the politics, you're right. I mean, it becomes about a campaign, and then we go to move forward, and I'm not sure the wall is going to be the answer, but securing the borders, coming in legally, that's something that has to be dealt with, but no administration has really dealt with it up to this point.
No, and imagine this for a minute, that, you're coming from countries in the Middle East where they don't have birth certificates. They don't have a tracking of who really you are. And all of a sudden you claim that you're a refugee. Right. And that status is very widely used, and then all of a sudden you want to come to the United States and you come here. We know nothing about you. Now, I will say this to everybody up in Utica. Imagine for a minute we want to go up to Canada right now. Let's go up to Montreal. Mm-hmm. And you have a DWI, or you have some type of record that in the United States. You can't get into Canada. They won't let you in.
Right.
But in America, everybody can come in.
Yeah. Although, we see that in the border. We don't look at people from Canada the same way we look at other foreigners. It's thought of as, we do business back and forth. And in many cases, people are traveling back and forth across the border for employment and things like that. So you support, the ban, for instance, the president's ban. Do you support that?
Yeah, but it's not a ban. It's a way of looking at these people and saying, who are you and why do you want to come here? Yeah. And just because you claim that you're a refugee does not mean that you are. See, we have one of the most lax border control in the civilized world. Right. Go to Mexico. If you went over to Mexico without your passport, you're in jail.
Yeah. What do you say, though, when they come back to us and say the vetting process for refugees to get into the United States is multi-leveled? It takes several years for somebody to get in. You believe that's not true?
No, in the aspect if it's used correctly, but in the meantime, then you don't come in.
Right.
And, the number one priority of government is to take care of its own people first. Yes. I think are we really doing that?
Our biggest problem is the student visas, these people that are coming and traveling, and then they kind of mix into society, and then they're here and untrackable. That's a big issue.
There was over 720,000 people last year that overstayed their visa.
Yeah.
Where are they now?
Robert Caltabiano, if I have that correctly. Sorry.
Yes.
I appreciate your time here this morning. Of course,
absolutely.
Also, by the way, most of your career spent with Secret Service, and thanks for taking the time.